Hello and welcome to Talking the Game. It's just finished Crystal Palace 4, West Ham United 3. I've got a lot of sympathy and a lot of criticism for the players after that game. The sympathy is on the basis that fatigue was always going to be an issue. There's been concerns from a large amount of West Ham fans. The advantage of doing these videos is you can read the comments below. So when we did the Liverpool preview, myself and Gonzo were discussing about the requirement to rotate the squad in that fixture ahead of this fixture, because if we lost both, it puts pressure on us going to Manchester City on Wednesday night. You read the comments of other West Ham fans who suggest the same thing. There's been a concern from lots of people, especially based on last season, that fatigue was going to be an issue. Today, fatigue was a massive issue. However, it wasn't the only one. The players' performances were really, really poor today. There's very little positives to take out of today's game, in all honesty. 4-3 sounds like an entertaining game, a tight game. Perhaps the losing side were a little bit unlucky. It wasn't really. Put it this way. In the 90th minute, 6 minutes of injury time went up. I generally felt that if there was another goal, it was going to be a Crystal Palace goal. That's generally how I felt. We were shattered. We were absolutely done by this point. The players that shouldn't be tired weren't really doing anything. And yet, the players that were quite obviously knackered by this point remained on the pitch. When Cornet came on in the 88th minute or whatever, he still had another 2 substitutions he could have done. He didn't do them. He left those tired players out. It's been really poor planning ahead of today's game, and we've got what we've deserved to some extent with this game. But let's go through the highlights, because there's a lot of them to get through. 7 goals to quickly discuss. We made it 1-0. I mean, we went 1-0 up. Thomas Soucek with the goal after 9 minutes. Third game in a row we scored in the first 15 minutes. All season, hadn't scored a Premier League goal in the first 15 minutes of a game. We've done it 3 on the bounce now. Decent corner in by Jared Bowen. Shocking header from Elise. He just heads it back into the 18-yarder. And Soucek, is a fantastic finish from him. Sort of on the half volley, swinging at it, left-footed, power, no chance of saving that. Great goal by Thomas Soucek, but the lead didn't last long, just 6 minutes, in fact. Jordan Ayew, he always turns into Ronaldo against us. Schlupp turned into Rivaldo today. We had Ronaldo up front and Jordan Ayew. It always happens. He was a pest all game, but great goal from him. Long ball, Emerson hasn't a Scooby what's going on, really, does it? I don't even know if he knew what day of the week it was today. Hit him, and then he slipped. So the ball fell to Elise, and then he slipped to give Elise the room that he requires. Great run by Ayew, great pass by Elise, and a good finish. And I don't like keepers getting beat at their near post for things like that. I think as a keeper, your job is to force them to go across you into that far corner and try and narrow the angle as much as possible. It's a really good finish by Ayew, though. Fabianski, I feel like, should be doing better for that one. Zouma possibly should be doing a bit better. He got injured in the process. Now, listen, fatigue's an issue. It's not where Zouma's injury is not because of fatigue. I've got no complaints. I do. Zouma's injured, but that's not a repercussion of us playing so many games. It's an impact injury. Ayew's follow through, catches him on the ankle. He went off with that ankle injury. So it's just unlucky. That is just unlucky in regards to Kurt Zouma. But 1-1 at this point. And, the one thing a lot of our subscribers disagree with a lot about me, the most they disagree with me about, is my sort of love for Aaron Cresswell, if you like. I think Cresswell's a better player than Emerson, and I get a bit of criticism for it, and I accept it. But my opinion hasn't changed, and I'll tell you what, it certainly won't after today. I thought Emerson was shocking in the first half. For the first goal, he didn't get any better whatsoever. I'm not saying Cresswell was a big improvement when he came on, but I felt we had a lot more joy down our left-hand side, and it wasn't because of Saeed Benrahma, let's put it that way. But it was just poor, and we were really poor by this point. It was 1-1, but you could sense another goal coming. And 5 minutes later, it was 2-0 Crystal Palace, and it was a deserved lead by Crystal Palace at this point. We were all over the shop. The defending was terrible. The midfield was non-existent. There was nothing going forward. It was all Palace. It was just from the first minute of the game up until, well, the full-time whistle, really. It was all one-way traffic. Ball down the right-hand side. Emerson sort of gets sucked in a little bit. He ends up in no man's land. So Elise's then got the space down the right-hand side, puts the ball across. Fabianski is also in no man's land. Soufal's followed in the initial cross. It sort of hits Aguerd in the heel kind of thing, falls to Zaha, who puts into the back of an empty net at this point. 2-0, and it's just looking easy. We're looking pooped at this point, and we are, but we'll get into it all. But yeah, 2-1 down after 20 minutes, and we're 3-1 down after half an hour. And at this point, I'm not even surprised, to be honest with you. I'm not really surprised. Aguerd, listen, Soucek should be doing better, right? There's no two ways about it. But I'll tell you what, before Aguerd passes that ball, if you were to pause it and say to West Ham fans, do you pass to Soucek here? Not one would turn around and say, yeah, I think you do. We know Soucek can't do one-touch football. He always needs to control it. His weakness is in possession. So to give him the ball with someone breathing down his neck, well, it's a hospital pass. It's almost suicide. But saying that, Soucek should still be able to deal with it. He's a Premier League footballer. He should be able to deal with that. So Aguerd gives him the ball, takes a heavy touch, Schlupp nicks in and gets it. He's one-on-one with Fabianski, puts it through his legs into the back of the net. And it's just, I don't know, it's almost a give up at this point to some extent, but we get back in it 5 minutes later. I mean, you're scratching your head as to how it's 3-2 at this point. How are we still in this game? It's another set piece, and not to be our last one either. Ball in, Soucek flicks it on, and Antonio heads it in at the back post. And it's one of them, you're suddenly thinking, oh, we're back on here. It's 3-2. We're back in the game. Do we deserve to be? Not really, but we are. Now, at half-time, it was 3-2. I thought we were terrible. I thought Declan Rice had the worst 45 minutes of his football. The second half was not much better. That was Declan Rice's worst game for West Ham I have seen in a long, long time. But I've got a bit of sympathy for him. He was knackered. You could see it. It was such a tiring performance from Declan Rice in regards to, like, he was tired before the game even started. But he was terrible. I had a little look. After half an hour, he made 3 passes. 3 passes. Soucek was on 5 and Paqueta was on 6 or something. That was our centre midfield. But this is where I've got sympathy. Crystal Palace during the week had a completely different midfield 3. Now, today, Eze played centre midfield. He played during the week. But Schlupp didn't start, and Decore didn't start during the week. Crystal Palace rotated. They've played a lot less football than we have this month, and even they've been rotating the team to keep it fresh, to have the energy in midfield. And you could see that in the first 45. Paqueta was completely disinterested out of possession. That was a lazy performance from him, but a tired performance. Soucek was knackered, absolutely gone. Rice was shattered. Our midfield were completely unable to compete with that Palace one. There was just too much energy in there from them. Their front 3 were causing us all sorts of bother all half. It was a bit of a disaster the first half for West Ham, to be honest with you. We just couldn't get anything going. So like I said, I've got some sympathy. But at the same time, it's just not good enough. It's a reason that we struggled, but it's not an excuse to be that bad, because we were shocking in the first half. Crystal Palace fans should have been disappointed to only be 1-0, one goal up at halftime. Anyway, the second half got underway, and this is just, they got a penalty in the 64th minute. This is shocking. Honestly, this is absolutely shocking. This is no way a penalty. No way whatsoever. I'm not having it. Nobody can persuade me that that is a pen. It's fantastic build-up by Crystal Palace. Quick, decisive passes in and around our 18-yarder. 1-2, gets Eze into the box behind Aguerd, puts his hand out. If there is any contact, it's minimal. He doesn't grab his shirt. He doesn't. His hand might touch his waist, his hip, and briefly, and that's it. That is usually really good defending. 99% of times that. I mean, a lot of the time, the striker won't go down for the start, but that is the type of thing you say, well done, good defending, you've put him off a little bit. It's a contact sport. That is nowhere pen. That's not the reason we've lost today. I will make this clear. Against Liverpool, I'm keen to sort of blame the officials a bit for us getting nothing out of that game, because we deserved a penalty in the 88th minute, 2-1 down. That impacts the game. And of course, going 4-2, Palace going 4-2 up changes the game completely, but we haven't lost today because of this decision. It's a poor decision, though. Aguerd, he's a bit naive, perhaps, putting his hand out, but there's absolutely no chance that that's a penalty. And the worst thing is, there was at least tell the referee, go and have a look at it. Is it enough? Is it a clear and obvious error? I think it is, honestly. And the worst thing about it, Ian Bishop said this, and can't agree more with him, which is he's dived, fine. Like, accept it. You don't like it, but just accept it. He's won the pen. It's a really good penalty by Eze. He dispatches it fantastically well, sends Fabianski the wrong way. But the fact is, he goes and dances and does all this and that and the other kind of thing. It's just disrespectful at this point. So anyway, it's game over. Or is it? Because in the 72nd minute, it's 4-3, and somehow it feels a little bit like game on again. And it's another set piece. Ball in by Jared Bowen. Thomas Soucek flicks it on at the front post, and Aguerd gets the touch at the back post to knock it in. Now, Soucek's been fantastic against doing this. 2 assists today, a very similar thing, just flicking it on. He did it against Bournemouth. For Declan Rice's goal, he flicked it on there. Is he aiming for Declan Rice in that game? No, he's just flicking it on. Again today, just flick it on and hope your teammate gets it. 2 assists for Soucek and the goal, but he still didn't really play very well. And quite impressive, actually. But it's 4-3. But when I say game on, it's game on in the scoreline and scoreline only. Because I'll be honest with you, I never had any faith in us making it 4-4. I just didn't. We were still knackered. We'd scored from set pieces. We were creating nothing, and I mean nothing, in open play. There's no creativity. We could barely string a few passes together. Every time Palace went forward, we looked at 6s and 7s in the defence. Obviously, it finished 4-3, but this is where the manager will get off with a little bit today because of the player performances. There's individual errors leading to the Crystal Palace goals. Aguerd giving away a penalty. Soucek for Schlupp's goal. Individual errors will sort of overshadow the performance here. But what it will do is it will probably take away the emphasis of the lack of rotation going into this game. We were knackered. I'll be honest with you. As soon as that penalty went in, I was hoping he was going to take off Rice, Antonio, and Bowen. I thought, just get those 3 off the pitch and give them a rest, because they're absolutely knackered. In the last 10, 15 minutes, we've got a bit of a chance. Palace were passionate about looking for a 5th when it was 4-3. Normally, naturally, in a game, the losing team start throwing the kitchen sink at the opposition. Not today. Palace kept on coming at us because they knew we were knackered. They had us on the ropes for the whole game. But there's an element of responsibility on the manager here. Like I said, the players were not good today. I know people say, you can't just blame. I'm not just blaming Moyes, but I'll tell you what, I can. Because Moyes' lack of rotation, lack of managing the squad up until today has put us in this situation today. But even during the game, he's only used 3 subs, 2 of them at halftime. And funnily enough, the 2 players he took off were the 2 players that were fit, that were fresh, the 2 players that didn't play, that didn't start against Liverpool. He took them off at half-time. And I'm fine with that. Emerson was crap. Fornals was completely ineffective on the left wing. Who would have thought that? There's a surprise, isn't it? Fornals struggling on the left wing again, but fine. So he took them off and brought on the 2 players that did start against Liverpool. But there was no more subs. That last 15, 20 minutes, Rice could barely move. Soucek could barely move. Bowen could barely move. The players have got nothing. Soufal got battered by Zaha today. That's the first time I've seen Soufal look tired as well. And Zaha on his day is a very, very difficult player to play against. Zaha was fantastic today. Caused Soufal all sorts of problems in the first half and in the second half. I've got no complaints with Soufal's performance. Did he have a good game? No, because he was knackered enough against a good player. But where's the protection from the manager? Where's the let's take him off? Do I want to see Kerr playing right back? Not necessarily. But I'll tell you what, I'd rather see Soufal be able to play a big part of the rest of the season. We were absolutely knackered. And I do worry because we're now in this, and this was my fear. There's advantages and disadvantages to doing these videos. And one of the advantages, there's an archive of footage there. And if you go back to Liverpool preview, we're discussing fatigue. It's going to kick in. We need to start planning for the Crystal Palace game, for the Manchester games. And that's why rotation against Liverpool would have been key. He didn't do it. He gambled. It didn't work. Coming into this one, again, rotation was required. He needed to do something. That 2 changes he did today, the change at left back was rotation for rotation's sake, and you will not convince me otherwise. Putting Emerson in instead of Creswell to the starting 11. Creswell is not tired. Creswell did not need to take out the firing line today because he's shattered. Lots of other players did. it's poor management, and this is what we deserve. We deserve to get beat today, not just through the performance, but because of the poor management of the squad. Like I said, Crystal Palace have rotated more than us with a smaller squad, a much smaller budget, and less football. How is that a thing? But it is. And now we're in this position where we're praying for the results to go our way for the rest of the weekend. And we still need points this season. One might do it. I think two will do it. And I still think 2 points will keep us up, by the way. I'm not going to change my mind on that because we've lost today. That is my thinking. 2 more points and we'll stay in the Premier League. But now we're in the problem position of where we're going to get them, because next up's Man City. After that's Man United. And then after that, we've got our European football coming up. We've got Alkmaar then. The opportunity to rest any players is gone. It was on Wednesday against Liverpool, possibly today. We can't really afford to do it against Man City unless every result goes in our favour for the rest of the weekend. We're now relying on other teams. I think we were never out of the relegation battle, but there was a bit of daylight between us and the bottom 3. But we needed to get something against Liverpool or Crystal Palace. We've got nothing. In fact, we come out of it worse because now our players are shattered. They are absolutely shattered today. I've got a lot of sympathy for some of the players that played their part today because there's nothing left in the tank, but it doesn't mean their performances were very good. We've sort of covered individual performances. We normally round up by speaking about 1 or 2, but I'll just say it again. I think that was Declan Rice's worst game in a long, long time. Zero impact on it. I barely seen him at all. And when I did see him, it wasn't great. There was no driving runs. There's 1 or 2, but even they were not perfect. Defensively, there was no protection for the back 4 today. Against Liverpool, against Bournemouth, I thought we protected the defence really well. Today, there was none of that. Palace were running through the middle of the pitch against us. I'm not concerned about Rice because I think he will be good again, probably in the next game. But he looks tired. There's no rest for him. And this is where I go back to the manager and say, well, how have we managed to finish that game with 2 subs left to use? That is a Premier League bench. Who has he not used today? Downs, who he spent 10 million on. Lanzini, who's contributed massively. Is he the same player? No, he's not. But he's still a Premier League quality player on there. T. Lukero, he can play across that back 4, anywhere in that back 4. He had plenty of players on that bench to use today, and he's not used it. Oh no, sorry, we did do an additional sub. I forgot Zuma went off. Apologies for that. So he had 1 spare sub. So, but still, Cornet came on in the 88th minute. It's hardly like Antonio got a rest, is it? He got 2, didn't play 8 minutes of the game. Yeah, that'll keep Antonio refreshed for Man City, won't it? But we were tired by half time, and to just not do the subs earlier is so frustrating. It's infuriating. Now, would they have made a difference? I don't know, but I'll tell you what, an energetic and enthusiastic Flynn Downs would have done more than what Thomas Soucek and Declan Rice did in open play in that game today. He would have done. It would have been almost difficult for him to contribute less. Soucek was instrumental in both boxes, defensively and going forward, and setting up Crystal Palace as well. But in open play, it was just, I don't know. I think the most frustrating thing is we could see this coming. West Ham fans could see this coming. We could see this performance coming. And I think that's the thing that I'm most annoyed about. But it's time to go pray that Brentford beat Nottingham Forest. It's time to then hope that, well, we don't even know what Everton play Leicester. What do we want there? A draw, maybe? But this is where we're at now. We're now hoping that Leeds lose as well. We're hoping results go our way. Otherwise, it's squeaky bum time again. Because, like I said, there's winnable fixtures. There is winnable fixtures for West Ham. The problem is they come in between or immediately after European games. The time to get points was Liverpool and today. The time to rotate was Liverpool and today. We've done absolutely nothing. We deserved what we got today just through lack of managing the squad. It was a big, big game today. It was a huge game. Not just for the Premier League, but also how we can attack that European games. And not good enough. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I'm just gutted, actually. I'm absolutely gutted because I think the domino effect of losing this one is massive. There's now pressure on the Man City game. And then the longer-term domino effect is how we can, or should we say how we can't, approach the Alkmaar game. and Kurt Zuma picked up an injury. But like I said, I don't blame fatigue on that. That's a completely different type of injury. When it rains, it pours, eh? It was a good month though, up until the last couple of games, hasn't it? But I'm going to disappear. If you've enjoyed this review, please do drop a like on it. Subscribe if you're new to Hammers Chat, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow.